All right, today we have a very special guest. So a Southern brother from another mother, Dave Kramer from SOC-F fame. He's back. So we did an audio podcast with him years ago, and he's back to do the video. So you can see the emotion, the commitment, the compassion in this man's eyes when he talks about supporting special operations. So Dave and I, we met back just a few years after the war started in Atlanta. In his journey through the industry, supporting the Tier 1 groups within our military. And now he's at Magpul doing things like these DACA pouches, which are extremely convenient. Magpul, who's famous for doing the CTR stock and the PMAG. So Dave does a lot of great work there. But Special Operations Care Fund is a thing I really want to talk about that's extremely special that he's done and that I'm proud of for him. They raise tons of money, 100% pass-through. Nobody takes a salary for all the special operations that need anything, medically, Gold Star kids, psychological treatment, addiction. It's just a great organization to support. What is this? I don't have my glass. 7 C's?
7 C's, our sponsor. I can't.
I know. our unofficial alcohol sponsor. They sent us more beer.
Yep.
I love that guy. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try this, the hazy IPA.
Ooh.
They sent me, I'm going to call it a chalice.
Yeah.
Looks, I'm going to assume this is a fancy beer drinker glass because it feels pretty feminine, quite honestly. Like I'm a little more of a mug guy. But, I'm going to live La Vida Loca, man. So I'm going to go ahead with this fancy thing and call it a chalice.
Yep.
I have to didn't do a good pour there either.
Did you go to like bartender college or whatever?
Yep. I have a degree, 1994 from the Atlanta School of Bartending.
Wasn't that originally the Connecticut School of Bartending on Beaufort Highway?
Was it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or was it originally the Atlanta School of Bartending in Connecticut bought it?
Maybe so.
I wasn't born.
Well, welcome, Dave Kramer.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I went actually to bartending school when I was 19.
And it was it the one on Beaufort Highway?
Yeah, it was on Beaufort Highway.
At Claremont?
Mm-hmm.
I totally know where it is.
Yeah. So I went there when I was going to DeKalb College.
Yeah.
Junior college,
I
regional.
took one class at DeKalb College.
I got an associate's degree from there.
Damn, you guys are learning.
I dropped out.
Of community college.
Yes.
Loser.
I was not
Community college
academically
material.
astute. I had other
It's a
gifts.
headshot.
I had other gifts.
Yeah, you did. All right, we'll get into those in a second. So I want to give a shout out to people that sent us some stuff this week before I forget. And this does not include everyone. But I do love the 7 C's.
All 7
hazy IPA. All the IPAs they've sent like 4. These guys are cool. They sent one chalice. It must be a chalice.
It's all right.
Because they sent one.
Yeah.
And there was not community chalet. Anyway, so our homies from EOTech, they saw my African 8.6 rifle did not have a EOTech or Voodoo optic on it. And I decided to go with some magnification because I think I'm taking the longer 8.6 barrel to Africa. Me and my boy Tommy in a couple days here. So it sent me the 1-8. And even though I'm already zeroed and set, I'm going to swap it out for this. So thank you very much. Put it this way so you can see.
Yep, Voodoo.
This is going to play part in killing some stuff.
What
there's
about that shirt?
The shirt. So, the Wu-Tang.
Yep.
So, Ivanka not being from this country, did not grow up watching Southern wrestling, as Dave and I are very familiar with. This would be the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, the styling and profiling, Ric Flair. Wu-Tang. So right here. So she watched the 30 for 30 with Ric Flair, and her mind was blown because they don't have that shit in Poland.
No.
And so she just thought it was hilarious, and it made sense, like the quote on the gun. And so she's like, let's watch more of these. We watched the resurrection of Jake the Snake. And then, so coming back, so we got to see Uncle Todd, as you guys
Todd.
call him.
Yes, sir.
So from Tactical Distributors. And I got new panties.
There you go. Battle briefs.
The battle briefs. I'm totally excited. I didn't even know they had a 3-pack.
I didn't either.
Impossible 15% off. You get the most comfortable underwear in the world. Like, I mean, Tactical Distributors has a lot of great products.
Yep.
And I'm no hoe for everybody. Like, they have some stuff I don't really care about. But the majority of their products, and especially these underwear, oh, my God, treat yourself, people.
Now, I have to say, they also gave me a bundle of panties.
Yeah, you probably got the girls' briefs.
And I've been wearing them. Oh, man, are the battle briefs comfortable.
They feel good,
And you were right about the pocket for your
junk.
Yeah, for your junk. Shit comes right out when you got a piece. You're totally right
it's
about
like,
that.
Yeah, it's like automatic. I still, number one, I think, shout out to you, Tommy, for giving our only sponsor a plug. I'm also calling bullshit because, Dave, I don't know if you saw Tommy's pants, but there is no way he's fitting some panties between him and those tight-ass spandex
Those
denim
Lululemon pants.
Oh,
he's
my
wearing?
God. Oh, Lord.
When we were at Tactical Distributors, which reminded me, I found a couple hidden Post-it notes that might have a connection to our friend Dave Kramer here.
Oh, you did?
And
I certainly
my
did.
children.
I don't know
yeah.
this. Explain, please.
Well, maybe Dave can explain it.
Whenever I go to TD and
Tactical Distributors.
and
That's
visit
what,
those
us
guys,
in the know.
That's
call
right.
it.
I will. If Todd is not in his office, I will commandeer it and get a Sharpie and stick a Post-it notes and leave notes all over his place. So last time I was there, my two sons, Conrad and Davis, we were in there and we posted male genitalia and some female genitalia handwritten notes.
Seems
He will
incredibly
find those
inappropriate.
for the next 15 years.
That's
So
awesome.
whenever he finds them, he just snaps a picture and sends them to me.
That's pretty great.
Oh,
Yeah, Todd's a great dude.
Shout out for the Neptune shorts.
I'm wearing some right now.
They're the
Oh,
bomb.
is that what I think?
Yeah.
That's maybe what I've got on.
Yeah.
I don't keep.
Those
up
are
with
not
the name.
Neptunes.
They're not.
No,
What are
those
they?
are the,
How
do you-
the tiger stripe ones you have are the Neptunes.
No, I gave them to Ethan. I felt. I know. You don't know how. I mean, that is my love for Ethan Lassard. Is he was here? You know, motherfucker just walks in my house all the time like he owns it. He walks in one morning and I just gotten a delivery and it was Tactical Distributors sent me a little gift box of things, and it was getting hot here. There's 2 pairs of shorts, the Tiger Stripe, which everyone knows is my favorite, and these Woodland. And Ethan walked in when I was opening the box, fixed himself a coffee like he owns the place, and said I felt bad. Like I'm like, hey Ethan, I got 2 pairs of shorts. You want? I really didn't even want to give them to him, but he wears them every day. Do you guys see him in them?
Yeah,
like
with
all
no
the
underwear.
time.
Yeah, no underwear.
And then I let him. Really? Oh,
Gross.
But thank God they're camo then. But so I was like, hey, you pick whichever ones you want. And he picked Tiger Stripe. Asshole. So I have the wood one. It's cool though. I'm bringing it back.
Yeah. M81. M81's tight.
Actually, everything I'm wearing right now was a gift. Like the rainbow flip flops.
Yep.
That was I don't know, maybe one of our viewers. My panties, battle briefs. That's all that goes on this junk. And then these shorts, which are not the Neptunes, apparently they're something else. And this shirt.
Yeah.
Blanca hooked me up with this.
Living
And
the
she
life.
was so mad. She sent it to work because she wanted to like surprise me. And then we were out of town,
Oh,
and
right.
Torres had her open it. And there was supposed to be a note included that told me how special I was. It wasn't there. She was very upset.
Tori kept it.
Yeah, probably. Probably John.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jay, I don't know if you had met Dave before today. No.
I had not, no.
So this is my longtime Southern brother, Dave Kramer. Thomas,
Yeah, we're doing a podcast.
settle the fuck down. He's practicing dance moves for you guys when you're on stage.
Yeah.
He's got
It's
that
amateur
flip
hour.
around with the
Yeah, yeah.
guitar. It's sweet. He's like adding twist. Dave, when did we meet?
We must have met 2007 or 8. So
your background. When I met you, had a company called Uber Group.
Yes.
And what was that all about?
So Uber Group was a sales rep group. You have to leave this industry and go to the REI camping hiking world. When you live in that industry, every brand that you see in those stores has an independent rep group that manages a geographic territory. So my rep group managed the deep South, the redneck South. So Virginia down to the Keys and the Mississippi River to the Atlantic Ocean.
Isn't it interesting when we were kids, like your college age, you're embarrassed you're from the South, and now it's like a badge of honor. I love it. I love it that it came full circle. The rednecks.
Yeah.
So Dave, to that, like didn't grow up in the gun industry like I did, but showing me pictures last night, this crazy mother, which he's so conservative now, like just a responsible father and
cleverly disguised as a responsible adult.
You know the movie Free Solo? So he didn't do it solo, right? But like he's climbed that, and he's showing me pictures last night. He was into ice climbing. Is that what the hell you call it? It's ridiculously dumb.
Don't do that.
That's what Dave's life was. That's how he got into the REI stuff.
Yep. That's it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean.
So he's showing Ivanka and I the pictures last night, and Ivanka's like, "Oh, we got to go do this ice climb." I'm like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
No,
It's
just up the road,
like-
Conway, New Hampshire. It's the mecca of ice climbing.
I think Edgar Sherman went there.
Yeah, good
And
for
it-
Edgar.
Yeah, and it didn't look sick.
Yeah. Jay and we're not built for this.
I'll skate on the ice, but I'm not going to climb it.
Well, I'm not even doing that. That's dumb too. So Ivanka's like, "Hey, we got to go do this." I was like, "What is wrong with you?" And it's like, we're even going to dive with great whites without a cage. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not climbing some ice.
I'll take
cliff.
ice climbing over shark diving.
You take it. You got it. I'll give you my portion."
Yeah.
So anyway, okay. So that's what David. So rep group that did all the outdoor stuff.
So we had a portfolio of brands that were in that arena. Were super popular.
Like who?
The biggest brand, our anchor brand, was Arc'teryx.
Never heard of it.
And never heard of it. And then Solomon, another small brand. Petzl, which is ice, headlamps and climbing gear. Suunto watches, which back in the day was super popular. Garmin eats their lunch these days.
Oh, is that gone away? Because I still you gave me a Q blue one when we started,
Yep.
and I still have it in the box in my closet. But now it's lame.
It's not that it's lame. It's more like to compare it metaphorically in this world, it would be some obscure brand that's really good, but it's an obscure, one-off brand by today's standards. Given Garmin's dominance, multiple billions of dollars in multiple channels, Suunto is pretty small in the fitness and outdoor world. That's it. Whereas Garmin has boats and satellite stuff and all sorts of stuff. But anyhow, so Arc'teryx, Solomon, Suunto, Petzl, Mountain Khakis, Jetboil stoves, they're up here. Nemo was another brand we did for a while, which is another a New Hampshire brand.
What are they? So okay, this isn't
seen
Nemo
that
the
movie.
gun company.
No, it's the movie.
Yeah.
The small one gets lost, or the dad gets
Yeah,
lost.
Dory goes out and
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Nemo equipment. So they're I want to say Cam went to the Rhode Island design school.
Oh yeah, the fancy
RISD, I think.
Yeah.
But super talented designer and industrial design guy, and they do tents, sleeping bags, all that stuff.
Oh, cool.
So in back to bring it full circle, the Uber Group stuff, we represented those brands in the Deep South, from Florida to Virginia, and
Yeah,
Mississippi over.
I remember your office, the warehouse, seeing the sleeping bags and all. Now.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, you had that Australian brand of boots that were
Blundstone, that's right.
Oh,
yeah.
Those are cool.
Those
I
are
like
popular now.
Yes.
too.
them. Oh,
quite.
are they?
Yeah.
You kids,
I don't have them.
different
but they're
generation
popular.
here. But they were cool. I liked them then.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm all about the slip-ons, probably because I'm old.
They are quite convenient.
Yeah.
Even more convenient than Velcro shoes.
Have those come back yet? Are you
I
kids
know
into
some-
Velcro?
I bought some Velcro football cleats for Davis the other day.
For real?
Yeah.
Vans has a Velcro model too.
Yeah, but you never know with the skate stuffs because sometimes they're on the fringe and do a
Yeah.
lot of weird shit. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's cool or not.
I had
And
a
I'm too old to be
Velcro
that.
wallet.
It's probably vintage. Old
OP.
bastard. Well, okay. Well, you did that, and so that's the first decade or whatever I knew you. So, but explain as much as you're willing to the transition, because then I met you probably when you guys started doing all the stuff.
Yep.
And transition just from outdoor adventure life to
Yep.
yeah.
So yeah, the outdoor portion of my adult career started in 90, and then in 99 I left retail. I worked at a store in Atlanta selling, backpacks and whatnot. Started the rep group. Back then it was just David Kramer, and then it became David Kramer and Associates, and then we grew it into the actual Uber group. But I think it was 2004, the military came to my trade show, which was the Outdoor Retailer Show, which is technically happening right now in Denver. It used to be it used to be in Salt Lake City, but
Wait, what's it called?
Outdoor Retailer. It's like SHOT
OR.
Show for camping.
Yeah. What's interesting there, and this is one of the interruptions Tommy warned you about. And the one guy that leaves messages on our thing, like, screw you, I'll interrupt when I want. Is because, after 9/11, we're actually going in to war and going into the mountains, chasing people. I mean, people have read, McPhee's character Shrek
Yep.
and to
Yep.
kill Bin Laden, where they go in the Hindu Kush. So they went from using just like combat stuff that the Army provided into we have to be as efficient as possible in these mountain environments, climbing mountains. So they got into very technical gear, hiking boots, like all the tier 1 groups, like they were wearing hiking boots.
Oh, yeah.
For at least that 10 or 12 years.
Yes. Yeah. So in 04, maybe, they special operations came to our trade show, and the business of outdoor, because it's regionally based. If you walked up and your badge said North Carolina, the person at the front of the booth would be like, "Oh, you're in North Carolina? Well, Dave is our guy in North Carolina." And because you had all the East Coast SEALs are in Virginia, my territory. All the Marine Corps Special Operations is in North Carolina, my territory. Army Special Operations, North Carolina. Rangers are in Georgia, and AFSOC, Air Force Special Operations, in Florida.
Yeah.
So I was in a geographically rich environment.
For special operations, definitely.
Yeah, and those guys had the budget, and they had the flexibility to buy outside of Army programs.
Yeah.
So I was in the right place at the right time, and I had cool stuff.
Well, just having the cool stuff, but how did you get these brands, let's say Arc'teryx and Solomon, because you're repping them.
Yep.
So you're supporting these guys, and then like they always do, because they have the money and experience, and they're the ones doing the stuff. They want specialty items. How did you get these big companies to do things specifically for these guys? Like things that, and I'm probably speaking out of pocket, but the high top Solomons, a bunch of the Arc'teryx gear, like it becomes specialized for, a crossover from this like technical outdoor world, hiking, mountain climbing, to that stuff, but for special operations. How's that happen?
It was a lot of fighting to push brands well outside of their normal zone, and to work with them on somebody else's timelines and financial constraints, all the the contracting stuff. So I had to learn a new language and a new business model, and go to different trade shows and partner up with companies who had the necessary means to be able to transact with the government. So as you well know, sometimes you can do a direct sale to an organization, and then other times the color of the money means you two and I, we're talking, but he's actually who you're buying from, and so now it becomes this triangle of organizations: the vendor, the end consumer, and then the government contracting.
I think this is something from my relationship and knowing you. It's like where it's so important, the relationship aspect of dealing with those guys, and the care and concern, and not just being business. because oftentimes what you're describing is very convoluted from a business perspective.
Oh, yeah.
But for me, I'm just so impressed you're able to get, especially a foreign company to participate and start doing. How did it speak to you that you wanted to go through all the trouble to support those guys? Because I know it had to be a pain in the ass. I mean, not with those guys, but getting these companies that are larger companies to, hey, this is just a handful of guys. It's not big Army or big SOCOM, and you're not going to make 10,000 of these, but it's important. Why?
I think I was always impressed from my climbing days. Do you ever go to Mount Yonah up in North Georgia?
Yeah.
That's where the Rangers do their mountain training. And like I was in high school going up there rock climbing, and you'd see these guys doing this and knowing they were sleeping.
It's funny, up there in Toccoa, even at the beginning of Band of Brothers, David Swimmer,
That's
they were running
exactly
them
right.
up after the
Yeah.
spaghetti.
Yeah. Yep. So
You could see it from my farm, the back porch.
Yep, absolutely. So I think I always had an appreciation for somebody doing something that I never did. Volunteered, here's the blank check in my life, Roger that, Sarge, and I'm going to go do what you tell me to do. I never did that. I was into rock climbing and whitewater paddling and backcountry skiing and all this sort of stuff. So for me, it was like, man, this guy made life choices that I never made, and appreciate that. But the funniest thing was the vendors, pushing a square peg into a round hole. A foreign vendor, Solomon, was the funniest. Here you have a French ski company that started making footwear. And by and large, the culture within Solomon, they would go, I'll use my best French impression. They would go, we like the aesthetic. We want to add some pop. And so we put an accent color and we do the reflective. And I'm like, no. Take everything. Take everything off. And they would go, it is not possible. And I'm like, not possible to paint something? What? Like this doesn't... Not possible in French means not now. But, and so I just basically forced. And I will say that some of the success that we had, it was Hugh and Stacy, the folks that worked with me at Uber, to get some of that going was with Solomon. You have to go back into the late 90s. Nobody was wearing boots. It was all tennis shoes. Early 2000s, it was all tennis shoes.
I remember when the high tops came out.
And so, Adidas stuff.
Yeah, big time. So Solomon was part of the Adidas group.
Oh, okay.
And when I started, that's where they were. So we would go to Portland to the Adidas complex. Super cool place. But at that point, it was all basically athletic shoes, trail shoes or whatever you want to call them, tennis shoes. Mm-hmm. And so they made a boot called the Quest, which today is still the boot that is worn in special operations. And they made it in two colors worldwide. So what they call the global distribution. So there was orange as the Q orange, and then there was gray. And the gray one was just basic enough that anybody could, it could pass muster to a sergeant major. Well, Solomon didn't have enough volume of business in the States to do both, so they arranged orange, and everyone of our mutual customers was like, what are you doing? And so I got this guy, Terry Hunt at RPT Tactical, to buy the minimum requirements, 500 pair of boots. He was like, if you're telling me that those guys down the street and the guys down in North Carolina would buy them, I'll do it. I'll take the risk. So he bought 500 pair, and Solomon hadn't sold 500 pair of boots in a long time. And they were like, what just happened? We got a PO for 500 pair. They went like that. And then he bought another 1,500 pair.
So did these go to the guys? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this all went to...
Yeah, so for a lot of people listening, I don't know what you call them, like tip of the spear, but what's
Tier
popular
one.
with you kids now?
Tier one units,
Tier
yeah.
one. So all the classified groups. A lot of times the purchases go through like third party. So, and it's intentional, so the manufacturer doesn't even know where the product is going. And so it happens a fair amount. So it might be, Terry's Gun and Pawn is buying the stuff for the most elite dudes in the entire world. in anything from sunglasses to boots to guns to ammo, anything.
Yep. Yeah, so success in that boot laid the foundation for what later became Solomon Forces.
So it was a boot that was being offered commercially, and they started doing that, and they bought enough to where then they would listen.
Yep.
To do.
And then I said, take off the accent, no reflective.
Yeah.
You know, and that became, and then the Rangers adopted it. And,
I didn't know that.
And NSW on the
I knew they
on the
did.
pipeline side.
Yeah.
So a guy would go through. You probably watched, like Hell Week and all that. Guy would go through Hell Week, and then go after they make it through BUDS. They go to Kodiak, Alaska, and they do SEAL qualification training. SQT phase 1 is in Alaska, and when they get there, they've got this big pallet of gear called a Gaylord, and it's got everything in it. It is like you went shopping at REI, and you got body armor, and you got sleeping bags and tents and bivy sacks and, stoves and everything that you need to perform as a SEAL. And in that was in what's called the Pepsi kit, was a pair of Solomons. And that took some gymnastics of contracting to get a French company. That boot was made in a non-friendly country according to U.S. contracting law, and so it had to be bought through a NIBNISH, National Institute for the Blind, National Institute for the Severely Handicapped contract. I mean, here's one that'll make your blood boil as a taxpayer. So that that Solomon boot was like $225 at REI.
The group that's asked to go do the most impossible things in the world and risk their lives can't get the fucking boots.
Totally. So they would buy it through
Welcome to America.
through a contract that had less restrictions. But by the time you get it through all these contracts, these people don't work for free, so everybody marks it up. So now you're talking $400 boots that you could just go down the street and buy for $225, or order them up on tacticaldistributors.com at $225, and probably there's a coupon code,
Unpossible
15, right? Yeah. So the government could get them way cheaper with a Q discount code than going the NIBNISH route for the same boot.
Oh, it's infuriating.
Yeah. As a taxpayer, you're appalled, but as a business guy, you're like, hey, I'm going to solve this problem somehow, and it requires this.
Yeah, I think it bothered us more than them, because in my dealings with those organizations, they understood that they understood it all. So they're like, we don't care. And that's maybe in some degree where the $800 Hammer toilet seat shit comes from. It's not that it's a scam. Oftentimes, I think by the liberal left thinking it's like, Dick Cheney becoming a billionaire. It's because of all these like liberal fucking politicians that you elect to hire, that you elect to protect you. They come up with all this bullshit that has a butterfly effect that ends up costing so much money to do something so simple.
Yep.
It's infuriating. It's embarrassing. Like, we should do America better than we do. Like, it's just getting embarrassing.
Free markets would probably work.
Yeah, amazing how that works, huh? Like, hey, starving to death sucks. You mean I have the opportunity to have a better life?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of how it happens, and it makes total sense. I mean, from my perspective.
And it was crazy for me, a kid that, grew up in Georgia, rock climbing and whitewater paddling all over the place. Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute, you're a real live Army Ranger or a Navy SEAL or what? Like, this is cool as can be. And it was it was also really nice to be with people, the end user, versus, going through a transactional business relationship where it's like, your margin on this one is not as good as the guy that sells us the competing one, and so we're going to go with his. These guys were like, hey, we tested 5 different boots. We love that boot. How do we get it? Like, this is awesome. Direct feedback.
And it's a thing where, okay, so this is what I run into, and probably some of my arrogant attitude online, even with some of our customers. Well, I could get blah, blah, blah for this much less. And when you deal with the guys when they're live, because, you appreciate every customer. Like the guy who buys a gun to post pictures on Instagram to say how cool we are. thank you very much. Like, the shit that we do costs money. I appreciate you spending some of yours with us. But the guy who is like, hey, I'm going here to do this and risk my life to kill this terrorist, yeah, his vote means a little more to me. I'm sorry. It's just the way it goes. But it is interesting. And then, like, the idea that you rep a product, which I do now, and which you do now, which you deal with both of those things.
Yep.
And always the big asshole that thinks he should have the biggest voice is the guy who, just wants to go the range with it, which is cool.
Yeah.
But it is, it's been an interesting
Oh, yeah.
career. Like, our time in dealing with those organizations. Well, okay, so before I get off track, so what happens with Uber Group?
So Uber Group continues to grow and grow, and that government business gets quite significant. Amer Sports is a publicly traded company that owned 3 of the brands I represented. I started with each of those brands before they were a part of Amer, at least 2 of them. So Arc'teryx, I was there when they were privately held, and then Solomon Adidas bought them. And then I was also happened to be working with representing Solomon in Sunto. So Amer Sports owned all 3 of those, and they had a process. I think it was called Project Straight Arrow or Project Arrow or something, and they needed to bring their go-to-market sales process all in-house. So instead of having outsourced sales reps, they brought everybody in. They bought our company, and so I went from being Uber Group. All I did was change an email to Amer Sports. I went in-house. Like we were talking about last night, it's the first time I realized in my life that culture had a price, and the culture at Uber Group was very much like here.
It was like you. It was great.
Super
when I went
fun,
to visit
super
you.
creative.
Very lax. Jay would fit in good there.
Yeah. And I went to work at Amer, and they had some. It was I was not a great fit internally there. It was a great fit when they were my client as I was representing them to their customers. But internally I didn't fit well.
Isn't it amazing when they want to buy you because of what you've accomplished, but then they buy you and they want to change you to them when they couldn't do what you were doing? It's amazing when they're so much smarter than you.
I had spent 10, 12 years getting everything situated, developing relationships to be able to fulfill large contracts large contracts relative to the special operations units that we were selling to. And they made the parent company made a decision that, hey, we're not going to be able to pursue these like we had thought. And at that point, they not only did my value with Tom Smith's old organization and Lou's old organization and Clement's old organization, I couldn't utilize my value. And then as well, they didn't want to mash the gas and develop products for customers like Tactical Distributors and OP Tac and US Elite Gear and these other guys that just want to sell Arc'teryx, no matter if it's got multicam or if it's for skiing and hiking, but they want to sell it to the culture that is here, represented here. So they didn't want to pursue either of those 2 avenues, which are the 2 avenues I could dominate in. And so I left. And I got linked up with...
Sometimes it's hard, but it's the best thing.
Yeah.
You got linked up.
A small little company in your world called Magpul.
Yeah, tiny.
Who's that?
Never heard of her.
Yeah, who's that?
You know what's so funny was years ago, and there's probably no one there that was there other than Drake. And he probably doesn't know this, but I was helping connect a deal years ago to sell Magpul for $10 million.
Whoa.
I was
glad they didn't do it because now I'm here.
So were they. But, they were a young company, and I knew the interested party, and the owners at the time were interested potentially in selling it. And so I was the go-between for a couple months on that.
That would have been a steal, huh?
Maybe. I mean, now, yeah. But who
then
knows?
also, what could it have turned into?
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So you go to Magpul. So what year was this?
It was I started in 2017. In the interim time that I'm losing, engine failure or whatever, I'm losing gas in the engine at my new place. Magpul rings the phone, and probably where I realized, going back to the culture statement, that culturally it was a great fit for me. And so privately held, Pro 2A, obviously dealing with many of the same customers, even though Magpul's transcended not just selling into the military, but into the civilian markets, still has a very strong program. And yeah, it was a great transition for me, and that's where I am today. So it's been awesome.
So when you went there, and you guys did clothes originally.
Yep. Yeah. So they had started doing clothing when Richard, the founder, was still involved in the day-to-day, and they had done some early stuff. I want to say it was probably 2014. They started doing some clothing, lots of range polos and all these things. Like, what does a Magpul customer wear? It'd probably be like, well, what does a Q customer wear? Well, that's a 60-year-old guy, and it's also a 24-year-old guy. They don't wear the same thing. It's hard to define. Clothing is challenging to define what that customer looks like when they're fairly broad. So unfortunately, the clothing piece was fairly short-lived, but yeah, I'm thankfully I have value beyond just being able to sell some shirts and pants and whatnot. And yeah, work. I'm able to utilize the skills from my retail days and my wholesale, rep days, and help spearhead a big program there. But I am responsible for all the non-gun accessories, so all the T-shirts and hats and the DACA pouches.
These things you send me.
Yes.
Which I'm not going to lie. The first time you told me about them, you sent them to me. I'm like, what the hell's that for? And now these, I told you I brought these down from my latest trip. We just got back from a trip to Virginia, and this is a DACA pouch.
Yep.
So this is so you can use carabiner or zip tie, whatever, to something else, so you don't lose it. These clear ones are awesome. So I have all the sling attachment stuff in here, and these are actually just ones I haven't even unpacked them from the trip. So I keep my different slings in here because I have different slings and setups for different guns. My spare micro optic, so got a Delta. So I have the EOTech on the gun. I have the Delta Point Pro as a backup, or to swap it out if somebody wants to see that. My gloves, if we do super high rate of fire stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I got gloves and a rag in that one. And this one, I have all my 8.6 ammo.
Nice.
And it's all in Ziplocs from Ethan, and it's labeled like what barrel length the subsonic is for and the different projectile. So that's a DACA pouch. You guys have them in all kinds of sizes, and you have, what do you call this where it like expands?
The volume pouch.
Yeah, exactly what I would have called it,
Yep.
volume pouch. Those things are awesome.
Yeah. So I run all the parts that are not attached to a gun. I'm responsible for that. So I wear DACA, hats, gloves, T-shirts, belts, that sort of product that doesn't attach to a gun. So Drake, who you've known for a bazillion years, he's got all the on-gun accessories, and then Trey. I don't know if you've met him. Trey's team spearheads all the efforts for both foreign and domestic military and law enforcement sales.
Oh yeah, I don't know that I know him.
Yeah, super good guy.
Drake. When I met Drake, it was a small company. Magpul is about started really kind of take off the same timeline as Advanced. Started my old company, and so I was friends with Mike and Rich, and Magpul probably had 10 employees.
Right.
And Drake came on like a year or so after. I was close to them, and Drake was still a part-time cop in Oakland or somewhere for a couple years before he transitioned full-time. Those were the old days.
I remember those days. So my very first, maybe it was my second SHOT Show. It was when it was still down at Orlando.
Oh,
every
yeah,
other year in
yeah.
Orlando.
That was a while back.
I remember, like, you would walk the halls, and it felt like, generally speaking, it felt like your granddad's gun show
Oh, it was horrible.
until you got to either Magpul or AAC, and then it was like it's the skate park. Like,
Yeah.
the dudes are here, and this is where the fun is obviously happening.
Yeah.
And man, I would credit both brands, not because I work for one and I'm friends with the other, but like, you guys had the culture, and it was super innovation and creativity.
And fun.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. And I remember that's when I met you and Drake, and yeah, I mean, what a
Yeah.
fun time.
It's interesting. I don't know. Our companies were kind of like, yeah, I don't know, brothers or stepbrothers, kind of like the movie, but it really was different and
Yeah.
fun, and we had a different approach and wanted to do different things. And
Yeah.
I mean, I remember it seems like a decade when Magpul was around before even the PMAG came out.
I remember when the PMAG came out.
There's no way.
Yeah, the first time I heard of it, I got out of school. I went to the police department that my mom works at, and one of the sergeants there was like, "Come look at this," and he showed me a video of them like running it over with a truck and all this stuff. He's like, "This is insane."
Oh, hand me that mag, would you? So this is interesting. Early on, when we got the Navy, we were working with them on 300 Blackout. So I think they did this mag, if I'm not mistaken, for the Brits for the bullpup contract thing, and so what was this called, the EMAG?
EMAG.
EMAG.
So maybe this came out a little after, about the same time, but this one's marked 300 Blackout. So the original 300 Blackout we were doing with 308 bullets till we designed like the Barnes 110 and different projectiles that are correct O-job. But if you use original 308, these front ribs, and the reason we use the PMags because at the time the customer was using aluminum mags, but my father with a wood chisel chiseled out half of that front rib so that the bullets would sit in here and feed properly using a 308 bullet. And so we lasered them all 300 Blackout. And so that's one of the original mags. But yeah, it's funny because the plastic mag had been done by like Thermold back in when I got into guns in the early 90s and stuff, and they were considered junk and they failed. And when I mean that's just a huge compliment to Mike Mabry and Rich.
Yep.
Who started Magpul that
Yep.
they were making some money and they decided to do this. I thought it was a stupid move. I'm like, how wrong was I?
Yeah.
Like $1 billion later. So it's pretty cool to see.
To tie our worlds together. So I was going into work with some of the SEALs, and this guy Drake was coming in with me, and that's when I first met him. And so we're in one of the team rooms, and I've got all my shoes and all my junk laid out, and Drake's got a PMAG, and they were there to talk about the standard PMAG wouldn't fit in their current gun, the HK 416,
416.
and it's because of the geometry on the outside. And so
their
Drake,
mag weld, yeah.
right, exactly. So Drake was there to basically be like, is there enough business to do it? And there wasn't enough just within the special mission units, but there was because it could be used with the Brits gun.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was, but it was also during the time when 300 Blackout was being developed. So I remember like all these cool guy companies, AAC, Magpul, I guess the stuff that I was working with,
Yeah,
we're all in the same recipe, of end users in the special operations world. And that was for this civilian, that was magical to walk into those places and be like, this is badass.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. It was an incredible time, and I think it was a time that, isn't going to be repeated anytime soon, to where there were certain vendors where you're doing technical aspects that were given direct access to the end user.
Oh, yeah.
Like to the guys, which normally, you deal with their handlers.
Yeah.
And so it was, we were spoiled. It was an interesting time, and
Magpul.
Yeah. Okay. So the Magpul stuff, all the
Yep.
things you do, and the things, blah blah blah. we got.
Well, it's great having you, Dave. And,
Plastic.
See you next time.
well, there's another organization that he has a hand in.
Yeah. So the tie-in that I want to use to Dave Kramer and Associates, Uber Group,
Magpul.
is the origins of something that I really want to talk to you about.
Yep.
That I think is, I'm not sure if you live 1,000 years, you do something more valuable than what you're doing as your side gig.
Yep.
So Kathy's your wife,
Kathy's the wife, lovely bride.
and your side chick is a little thing called SOC-F.
Yep.
And that started, probably the origins, the way I understand it, is when you lost a friend that was part of one of these special operations groups.
Yes. Yep.
And Magpul was a part of that.
Yeah, crazy tying parts of my life together. So Brett Shadle,
Shady?
from the SEAL teams, died in a parachuting accident. And 4 months before he died, I received 3 cases of PMags from a friend. At Magpul. So John, I guess they didn't give them all out at a trade show, and they were already out of inventory. So he sent me 3 cases. So you had been to my old office, and I mean it was a small area. So 3 cases of PMags took up a lot of room. So Shady died. He happened to die on Good Friday.
And was he a guy that you dealt with directly on some of the?
Yeah. So the way that organization's teams are broken up, or squadrons, they each give guys within the squadrons kind of some leeway into the gear. So you might have a guy that our mutual friend Wally was from the same squadron, and Wally was kind of the gun guy for that group, and Shady was kind of the clothing guy. They all poured into it. These are just guys who have a natural propensity for gear. And so Shady and I knew each other, and probably like any business transaction, it starts off as, I'm the guy you need to talk to about shoes and jackets. You're the guy that buys shoes and jackets. And then eventually it just kind of morphs, and you kind of hang out and go grab dinner, and then, hey, why don't you come over? It's my daughter's, birthday, and, crazy things
you
like
become
that.
friends.
Yeah.
Which was a great thing about these organizations
Yep.
over other big Army or government organizations is
Yeah.
that oftentimes, more often than not, it's a guy who's actually on one of the teams is the guy you deal with.
Yep.
He's the guy that's looking into things, buying things, for whatever aspect of the work they're doing.
Yep. So Shady was that guy at that squadron for me, and he perished in a tragic accident. And the Monday that I came back to work, I was sitting there in my office, and I had a picture. I had this cool, I call it the wall of dudes. Just the guys would send me pictures of them overseas wearing my stuff, which was always cool to me.
Super cool.
A connection. And so there he was in this Chinook helicopter, and he had taken his helmet off, and his hair was crazy, and this is back when they didn't have the grooming standards, so he had a huge beard. And I made a stencil, and I put it on the PMag, and I called it the Shady Mag. And since he was in Red Squadron, I painted it red, and it took me all day to do the artwork, I guess. And a few weeks later, we had the memorial for him, and they got auctioned off, and guys like Caleb cry. It touched a nerve, and we had 10 of those things, and 5 of them sold for $15,000.
Yeah, just a basic stupid PMag.
Yeah.
A $15
with a spray paint stencil
with
of his face on it.
And unlike you, I'm not an artist. It looked like a 4-year-old.
No, that's bullshit.
Made the stencil.
I have one, and it looks great. I can tell it's him.
So, yeah. So I had 290 left, and I called some of your employees back when you still owned AAC, John Hollister. And I said, Hollister, I understand you guys have a laser. Can you have somebody digitize this image? And then can you laser 290 of them? And he's like, yeah, we got it. So AAC did 290 of them, and we sold those. I talked to Todd at TD, Jeff from Blue Ridge Mountain Sports, and he owned a different company that sold into the teams as well, and then GSS, and they sold these extra 290 mags for $100 each, and so now we had a bunch of money to give the family, and we needed a vehicle to do it using government language. Yeah, and then after we kind of figured out how to get the money to them, that's when Griff Griffin, Dave Money, Cannon Reynolds, and myself stood up the Special Operations Care Fund.
So Griff's an attorney because you got to have one of those because otherwise you get screwed even doing a good thing. Yeah, and a couple other good just individuals.
Yeah.
So you started the Special Operations Care Fund. What year was this?
So we did our first event in 2014, but we incorporated as an LLC and filed for 501c3 status in 2013. But we'll just say 2014 is when we got started.
Okay, so SOC-F, Special Operations Care Fund.
Yep.
What's the purpose?
So we use the term, we fill in the gaps of coverage for the special operations military folks, and that money really goes into one of two big what we call buckets. The first bucket is healthcare issues that are unresolved. Typically, they are traumatic brain injury or addiction. And then we also have family. The other bucket is family, and that's typically Gold Star kids, so kids that have lost a dad.
Like Tribe Skates.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they employ Gold Star kids.
Yeah.
So
Well, let me ask you this. So tying this back into wrestling.
yeah.
You know, Ivanka, when she was watching it, and like understood enough, she's never really watched it in America, but that wrestling was like predetermined or fake.
Right.
But never really, but thought about, it's actual physical activity, and they all are incredibly injured, and they work every day, and so they all become addicted to alcohol and painkillers.
Yep.
Is that most of the addiction that you see with special operations? Is it alcohol, painkillers, or is it everything?
Yeah, I mean it's a fairly broad spectrum, but alcohol is probably the number one culprit. Then pain pills is number two.
Yeah.
You think the alcohol is from just the psychological stuff that they deal with, or is most of it pain? Because we were talking, even before the podcast, and like every one of those guys could get a medical retirement.
Yep.
Like there's no way you're doing that job to maturity and not physically injured.
Well, we also talked too with the GBRS guys, and like I feel like the pain pill side of it probably is more of an unintentional dependency.
Yep.
Whereas alcohol may be a different thing, but I feel like they just, like you said, they're all beat up all the time, so they're doing what they're prescribed the stuff to just get through the day, and then eventually they build that dependency. But
yes,
yeah, if they're all jumping out of airplanes, I mean, one hard landing in a helicopter, which you know nothing about because you're fixed wing.
Right, I'm a fixed wing guy.
You got spinal problems forever, hip problems.
Yeah, so I think when you look at, and it doesn't matter if you're talking AFSOC or NAVSOC or Army Special Operations, these guys typically are hard charging alpha males. They tend to party hard, and they take pride in that. They don't. No one's like high-fiving that you're the first guy leaving the party. It's usually we shut this place down, and then 2 hours later we were in formation rucking. It's a pretty common thing. So I think the alcohol piece is probably a cultural piece, and then the pain pills are prescribed for chronic pain.
Yeah.
And then it becomes an awful addiction. No matter what skin it wears, it's awful, whether it's alcohol, opiates, prescription pain pills, or whatever.
One thing that maybe it was off air, we kind of touched on it a while ago, but there seems to be this connection between all these tier 1 guys with a lot of them getting cancer.
Oh, huge.
That seems to be like, that's something that I don't know why it hasn't been looked at, but it seems to be affecting a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why there's not. I mean, it's, maybe it's one of those things like we want to be ignorant to it. I mean, it is such a difficult thing, and it's so heartbreaking because, I mean, I know you and I probably know a dozen or more guys that, under 50 have died from cancer in those groups. And, yeah, I mean, if you know what it is, then you got to address it. And we call on, like, as a nation, a very small group of guys. I mean, we have a huge military, obviously, but a small group of guys to do, I mean, the real tough work that an individual has to do. And, I mean, I don't know. There's not the same percentage in infantry.
Right.
So it can't just be, small arms, fire, whatever. I mean, the guys are just exposed to a lot of stuff that clearly is unhealthy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange.
I mean, I don't know the answer.
Right.
I don't even anecdotally think that there's a direction that you can point to.
Me
I do know the fact that back in the early days, when we would turn on the news and exit strategy in Iraq, this is 2006, 2008, that was the big topic every day. What's the exit strategy? And that was when the Stan McChrystal machine was rolling in Iraq. Those guys were given all sorts of pills to eat to help them go, and pills to, make them sleep, and everything in between. And, one of our mutual friends and that says, there's a reason the Army doesn't test for steroids. I was like, wow. He's like, they don't want to know the answer.
Yeah.
Another thing with wrestlers, a lot of them die before they're 50.
Just
like
beating
hearts
themselves
give
out.
out. And steroids or hearts give
like
out.
internally beating themselves out.
Yep.
Well, didn't Tom Smith say that it was like the lead from like the flashbangs? Like they would like clear a room and then it would be the lead just sitting in the room.
I mean, realistically, the answer is probably like most things, even with business. It's a culmination of all these things.
50 factors.
Yeah, because, I mean, even with the small arms stuff, like guys at one of these units, they shoot 50,000 rounds a year through their handguns.
Right. And then even things out like walking around with a Thor or a Balder or whatever, like the jammers for IEDs, like, hey, what do you think that's shooting out? And it's on your back. Like, my teeth hurt thinking about it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and I bet even in retrospect, there's none of these guys that would have changed anything. So,
No.
I don't know. Like it's interesting. What are you guys having success with the rehabilitation?
Yeah, so we've really fund a couple of different modalities for traumatic brain injury, and when you oftentimes speak of TBI, it is typically made more complex because typically those guys also have post-traumatic stress. Whether they can say, yeah, I got it, or no. I mean, the humanity part of them sees the worst in humanity. It's hard not to think that all these guys don't have some level of PTS as well. But so when we're treating TBI, we do a number of different treatments. And right now we have this kind of experiment. We're actually going to fund a research project right now. It's going to take about 2 years.
That's so cool.
But we found through some guys up in Virginia Beach this thing called magnetic electroresonance therapy, MERT, where they strap this little contraption on. They take all the the markers to understand where your brain, neuromarkers. I can't keep it all straight, but they take basically an EEG and figure out what your brain's doing after, let's just say, 20 years of working at night, vampire hours, eating lots of Lunesta to fall asleep, drinking lots of Monsters and Red Bulls to wake up, eating thousands of blast charges to breach doors and walls, firing the Gustav, whatever, just a career of that. So these guys typically have a haywire EEG. And so as they put this machine on, and it remaps their neural pathways. The guys tend to tell us that what they generally feel is the fog is lifted. Like you can see what they're talking about, because a lot of times you'll ask them a question and they hear you because they nod, but the processor, it's just the pinwheels going. It's like watching Joe Biden, and sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but
no, I think it's a perfect illustration.
Yeah. So yeah, these guys talk about the fog lifts. They don't feel like they need to take a healthy drink before they go to sleep to take to knock them out. They also tend to not have the agitation, emotional agitation. A lot of them will tell you, like anecdotally, like I can't drive with my wife because I'm like,
right.
Like, it's like, dude, she's just driving, But so yeah, it's an impressive piece. So we've been funding that, and Wally, our mutual friend in now in Nashville, his organization Tomahawk and SOC-F funded through 2022. As many guys from the special operations units can go through this for free. We've already prepaid it. So
I think I saw a video of Tom Satterley doing it. I want to say it's the same thing. He had some stuff on. He was an Army guy. Had some stuff on his head, and he was kind of documenting the process through it. I'm not sure if it's the same thing, but it sounds similar.
Yeah, I think there are two different, very similar, neuro things. I'm not sure which one Tom did. I know who he is.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
But then we also found that a former Dev Group guy, we've started fund his thing called the Warrior Health Foundation, and that's doing hormone replacement therapy. So guys get out, same deal. They've eaten charges and working vampire hours and eaten Lunesta, and this big mess of TBI and PTS coupled together, but their endocrine system is completely out of whack. So they way overproduce cortisol. They produce virtually no melatonin. Their hormones or testosterone and estrogen levels are completely out of whack for a normal functioning, let's say 45-year-old male. And so they do these blood markers, and they understand what should be the normal, and we fund that so that those guys get their endocrine system working much, much more in a normal zone. So
that's awesome.
That is wonderful. And you guys do stuff for Gold Star Kids, marriage counseling.
Yep.
So it's like alcoholism, drug, traumatic brain injury. All
if it's going to generally rip apart a family or a human being, we address it.
It's awesome.
That's the Southern gentleman in him.
Yeah.
He's caring about things that matter. Well, okay. So here's the fascinating thing to me. And, it's like we used to be, before you guys were stood up, Advanced Armament. We would raise and donate a bunch of money to Wounded Warrior. It turned into a big business, which has done a lot of great things in awareness. Sure. And but for you still have a job because SOC-F doesn't pay you or Griff or anybody else, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're all volunteer run. So we've got 7 folks on the board. None of us take a salary. We warehouse everything in my basement and sometimes my garage, depending on how full my basement is. Our Griff on the board is an attorney, so his firm basically underwrites all of any legal things. If we're going to do not a raffle, right, sweepstakes. Like they make sure that we stay within legal bounds. So that saves us, attorney's fees, thousands of dollars.
Yeah, probably $100,000 a year or something.
We have a friend of the organization that does our accounting for us. He's a Ernst & Young partner, and so he takes care of keeping our taxes. So we do have expenses. We have to pay for insurance and pay to upkeep and maintain a website. And, when we host an event, we have to pay for catering if we can't get it given for free. But
yeah, well,
but none of us take a salary.
Well, I want to stop you there because even that could seem like, like big business, they're doing things. And so you I don't even know if you're willing to talk about it. There was just an event that I was at. You had 54, 52 special operations guys, active or retired,
Yep.
that you guys contribute to
Yep.
there. That's pretty interesting in and of itself. Like
Yeah.
I've never been to any other charity event where there's that much of the crowd or guys you're supporting. You know,
Yep.
they have like the one guy that
Right.
lost his sight or whatever give a speech, but it's not who the crowd is. So this is the crowd, a lot
yeah.
of it, and their families. But like, what did that have? So you guys hosted at a country club outside of Atlanta.
Yep.
I went to it. What that event like cost you guys?
The bill for that thing, all in, for all the hotel rooms, the food and beverages, all the clays and everything, it was, I think it's probably $200,000.
Oh God, I had no idea. That
Yeah.
was a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, when you do it, when you divide it up by, per person per day, it's $500 per person per day when it comes down to it.
All right, so it was a lot, but we had a 1 day raffle, sweepstakes, giveaway, auction. I don't know what the correct legal term is. So in 1 day, and this is all stuff that's donated by Caleb Cry, by friends, or benefactors of your organization or theirs. Q, whoever, Custom Gun Builders, lots of the community donates product.
Yep.
And I know I bid on some stuff. It's a live auction. Our buddy Tom Smith, who was
Yes,
here and did the
sir.
podcast. He is not the normal auctioneer, but
Yeah.
fantastic job.
Great. Amazing job.
But you guys raised what, $1 million
About
that
$1 million
night?
bucks, yeah.
$1 million that night. So
a night.
so $200,000. That place,
Yeah.
they should deeper discount you guys.
Yeah.
But so $800,000 that no one else touches.
It directly
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
It's free,
Yep.
and so it all goes to guys.
Yes. Yeah. So that,
You don't have somebody making $300,000 a year running
No.
this organization.
no, we, and that's, and I will tell you, we as an organization, I'll say for the conscience of the board, remaining volunteer is important. From the optic that nobody is advancing their personal gain from
Yeah.
someone else's tragedy.
I mean, even for me, it makes a huge impression on me, and when I promote, your organization, or when I go to an event, like I think I got up to bidding on the gun I donated. London Bridge gave us a backpack.
Yeah.
Yep.
We had a gun. I think Voodoo gave us
Yeah,
an
we had a
optic, or
Voodoo.
Loophole. Loophole. It was a Mark V.
Oh, that's right.
And we gave
Atlas.
a silencer
An Atlas on there.
and an Atlas bipod, and I think I even bid at like $28,000.
Yeah.
And it went for, I don't know, 30 or 36,000 or something.
Let me tell you what that guy did. So he handed us a check and he goes, "Hey, here's a check. I rounded it up. $100,000.
I should have kept bidding him up. Are you serious? $100,000.
That's awesome.
So the fix with all the accoutrements went for $100,000.
I had no idea. I feel so much prouder of myself. Well, Dave,
That
That's
beats
awesome.
the Glock that went for $70,000.
Jesus. Did it shoot Bin Laden's son or something? That's so cool. Well, seeing you get emotional, me get emotional, like I'm an emotional guy, you are. But it's part of the reason to have you back here. Like when I first started the podcast and it was audio, we did it.
Yeah.
But when you tell the story, to me, it's like when I start talking about, our lame shit that we do, whether 300 Blackout, 8.6, the Honey Badger, like I love it. But seeing you like care so much, be emotional about it, and understanding the relationships you have with those guys, the relationships you create with people who are willing to support. Like this guy who I'm bidding against, this jackass, who gives $100,000. Like, what an awesome dude. I mean, I have no idea who he is even. But what a great individual. And that wouldn't be possible if you weren't as committed. If this were a job to you, I don't think it'd be possible.
Probably not. I mean, the what SOC-F beyond the philanthropic impact that it makes, I can leverage my experience in business to do this and raise the money to fund these programs that we do. But I mean, when you boil it down, it's basically responding to what consumers want, And so what you experience at that event is you've got a cool place. The place is magnificent.
It was wonderful.
Which is the reason it's not free. amazing food and drinks and just
The
like
bed, my
my
hotel
God,
room was all
yes.
like I didn't want them to pay for a room for me,
Right.
But they did it ahead of time, and like I was fine with sleeping in the car if there wasn't a room. Like I didn't want you guys to like, like I feel like an asshole. I'm coming there, donate some stuff, I'm spending some money trying to help raise money, and then they spend some of it to provide me with a room. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. It's
Yeah.
a thing you guys should do, but just like me personally, Ivana was like, "Let them give it to one of the guys. We can sleep in the Suburban." I was like, "Yeah, well."
we had it covered.
Yeah, I know you did, and it was wonderful.
But you
it was
get
a great place.
The right industry folks, the right donors, and the right soft folks, all kind of in the same room, and magic happens. And that's ultimately what
you've
happens.
got something very
Yeah.
easy to see when you see it firsthand that is kind of magical that's happening there.
Yeah.
There is no one, no matter what they spent, bought, did, that felt like they didn't get their money
for sure.
Money's
For
worth
sure.
that night. I mean, I know it was so great to me, like probably one of your heroes, a friend of ours, someone I super admire, Caleb Cry.
Yep.
He's
My man has done okay, we'll say.
Yeah.
He's made a couple bucks.
got a buck or two hanging around.
And
Yeah.
so we're talking, and he's like, we're catching up and all, and it always comes down to, did you see because they'll have some incredible stuff, incredible shit that you cannot buy that is
Right.
up there for auction.
Yep.
Like whether it is part of the Black Hawk from Black Hawk down in Somalia that they went, 10, 20 years later and recovered part of it,
Yep.
like dig it out of the ground. And then it's documented. And then people who are involved in that, I don't want to give it all away, but it's some part of American Special Forces history that you can't buy.
Yep.
But
And
you
it
can.
can't be, but you can.
But you can donate.
And,
Yeah.
and I remember, like there was one operation, and I don't know how much I should say, so I'm not going to give it all away, but there was one operation where it was a very important operation, and one of the main guys involved, I think he's wearing like a Cry uniform, gave it to Caleb, and he's got it in his office, and it means a lot to him. And I'm maybe messing the story up, but I think I got it right. But there was a guy carrying a flag on that mission, and it was up for auction. And so I'm talking to Caleb. I'm like, "Hey, you gonna buy anything?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want that flag." And he's like, "I'm gonna go to $25,000 on it." He's like, "What are you gonna get?" And I was like, "Oh man, I want this and I want this." And and I was like, "If my gun doesn't go for $10,000, I'm gonna buy it."
Yeah.
And I remember Caleb in that. He gets to like $60,000, and he's like, "I can't afford it."
Yeah.
And he wanted it so bad, and he didn't buy it.
Yeah.
Someone else did, and they spent more than he did. And that's a real humbling place. Like you can have a couple bucks, but there is somebody there that's got
a couple
100
more.
times
Yeah.
what you do.
You got a couple more.
But I remember on my gun, Ivana and I were standing in the back, and the gun got to like $8,000 or $10,000. It got to 10. I was like he's doing okay. Like I bid $10,000, bumped it up, and then I bet again at like 18,000. Then I bet at like 28,000. I was like, better stop, or I'm gonna mess up. And buy my own $3,000 gun for $70,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the right guy won it. He was able to do that.
Yeah.
Someone
So
got Tom's
exciting.
shirt, right?
Oh yeah, at the end, Tom.
Yeah.
Those ridiculous shirts like he sent us. He was
yeah.
wearing
With
one.
Christy on it. Yeah.
Yeah, a woman, somebody wanted it and offered $5,000. He took it off, and then someone bid it up, I think, to like $6,000 or something,
Yep.
and bought it.
Yep. They're a wonderful couple.
Oh, it's a couple that
Yeah,
did?
yeah. They've been they're neighbors of mine.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I'm relatively
So
live in the
great.
same town. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
wonderful human beings.
I mean, it's like the Cathy family, who they don't ever want to be. They don't ever even want us to say their name, really, because of they just want to do it for the sake of doing the right thing.
Yep.
But not just Ross, but his brother. I mean, they
Yep.
show up every time and spend tens of thousands of dollars and give money away to the guys, and so that's a Chick-fil-A family.
Yep.
So, yeah, support Chick-fil-A. I mean, not only is it the best chicken you'll ever have, but they do a lot of good stuff with their money.
Amazing stuff. Yeah.
Big hearts.
And they actually make their family makes their facility available for the marriage counseling. So they help us save marriages.
That's awesome. And they
Chicken sandwich.
gave Tom Smith a honey badger.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that was
Yep.
cool. Yeah, I mean, out of the blue, just after it was over, You know, I mean, he didn't want me to say who it was, but I don't really care. I don't know him any. Ross's brother, what's his name?
Andrew.
Andrew. Nice guy. He's
Great.
way nicer than Ross, actually.
Better looking too.
Yeah, goes without saying. But yeah, after the whole thing was over, Ross is telling him, "Hey, you got to get one of the honey badgers like me." He's like, "Okay," and they like come and get me, and you know, it's like he's got a handler, brings me over to his table, but not that way. They're very down to earth and nice. And he's like, "Hey, you know, I want one of the honey badgers like Ross, and I know there's a back order and all. If I donate, like, you know, a lot of money, like whatever it is, 5-10 times the cost of the gun, can I just skip the line?" I was like, "If you'll do that, I'll give you one, and we'll give Tom Smith one."
Yeah.
You know, like, and
He did.
He did. No question. He's just like, I just don't want him to know, so we'll keep it between us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what? Yeah, what a great family.
Can we block Tom from listening to this podcast so he doesn't know who paid for that?
Nah, he'll find out
Live
anyway.
free or die, man. I know. They,
Yeah.
Hey,
Tom Smith, he'll find out.
yeah, we can't hide anything. He probably knew when I went to him.
Yeah.
And he was so incredibly grateful. His wife wrote an incredible like thank you card and sent it to me and Ivanka, and it's like, yeah, it's so cool. Like Tom, I mean, he's just a real dude. Had
Love
no
that
expectation. He's showing up, even though he's one of the guys. He's showing up to help them out. Thinks he doesn't deserve anything. It's probably because he's Southern.
Yep.
And was just so grateful and appreciative that someone would think of him.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I use the metaphor that, you know, when I started working with those guys, when I met you and started meeting these guys, it was like, dude, this is Captain America and there's Superman, and, you know, like, it's amazing. And then you realize after a while, like, Captain America's broken.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, what a crazy thing. So, like, we train you to be, you know, the most lethal thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We give you all the equipment and permission to go and kill these terrorists. You jump out of planes, you blow shit up,
Break yourself off.
do all the things, and then you come back and you retire and you're supposed to have a normal fucking life. Like,
Yeah, we're not helping you figure it out.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Like, hey, see you later. Appreciate you. High five.
Thanks for all you did. See you.
Because I've been to some of the retirements, at some, like even at some of the classified units. You probably have too, and it's like a very odd thing. First of all, and they really honor the guys.
Yep.
But you know, it's like all those organizations. There's lots of formality. There's lots of ritual. It's just historically, this is how we do it. It's how it's done. Thank you very much. You did a great job. See you later.
Yep. This train's still moving.
Yeah, like how can you expect a guy to like jump out of a plane, blow shit up, shoot people, be a hero, and then you come back and now your job, you drive your kids to school.
John McPhee, I know he's coming up here in a few weeks.
I'm stoked.
He
So excited.
He's different than a lot of the
I'm
guys.
so
I love
excited.
John.
I'm so excited.
I remember him telling me we were having a meaningful, deep conversation at one point about this, and he was like, Dave, you know, their organization and their Navy counterparts, he's like, we're trained to do horrific things, up close and personal, whites of their eyes. Like, it's hard for us to come back and be a Boy Scout, you know, when we're done. It's difficult for that, you know, and
Yeah, and they do it for 20 years.
right.
It's not just once.
Well,
And-
their entire adult lives,
Right.
basically, and then you're like midlife crisis age, and you're like, oh, okay, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another guy from that organization, I mean, he described. We actually have a video of Chuck talking on our YouTube channel, and Chuck talks about the psychological challenge of being at that level. You know, the highest level in the military, and walking away from a game that is not yet done. And he's like, dude, it crushed him.
You know, that is so interesting to say because I think, you know, us on the outside, we can look at things like, you know, finally serving Bin Laden some justice is like win the World Series. It's not for those guys. Like, it never ends. Like, you win the Super Bowl, you win the World Series, you do the stupid Disney World commercial, and then you're off for 3 months. You take your family on vacation. Like there's a sense of finality. Like this was over. We accomplished this. It's done. Next season we start again.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and like the fighting that we do now with like ununiformed armies and stuff like that, like with just being us fighting terrorists, there is none of that. That's an interesting way of looking at it. I never thought about.
The other part that I've started to intellectually wrap my brain around, those organizations are high performance organizations. They are no fail missions. They are excellence and always improving. And it's an ethos that is in those units that they can perform at that level. And I'm not talking, I mean, it doesn't matter if I'm describing 5th Special Forces Group, the 2nd Ranger Battalion, CAG, Dev Group, the 160th, the guys up at Belvoir. They are all from the same cloth.
Yeah.
And those guys leave these organizations after 20, 25 years, and then they get to listen to people like me complain about I didn't get enough napkins at the drive-through of Starbucks, or like I forgot to respond to your email, and whatever, or hey, I know you called me last week, and it's like, dude, you'd be fired from where I came from if you did that crap. Like they leave these high-performance organizations,
Yeah, you get peered out
to come to American life, and they're like, a culture of mediocrity and complaining is what they are hit with.
Well, isn't it interesting, like all of them that we know, they're like all the best at everything they do, and then they get to those units, and you're like, you have to fight so hard to be average.
Right.
It's an interesting podcast about what you're saying about how America's failing and what big babies we are. I listen to, if I'm traveling, I'll listen to Joe Rogan's podcast some.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. It's a little one, but it's pretty good.
Are you going to say the Yeonmi Park one?
Yeah. That is made a bigger impact on me than any podcast I've heard in a while. Have you listened to it?
No.
From the start
I know what you're
to
talking
the
about.
end, it is
I will go listen to it.
It is
unreal.
It makes you realize how pathetically spoiled we are as a society, and just how fortunate we are, and how much it just pissed me off at the left even more listening to that, when the things that we complain about. And it's so interesting because I would think by nature, like she's everybody should go listen to it. Just came out, but she's a North Korean girl who escaped and like willingly basically escaped to China sex slavery because it was 1,000 times better than North Korea.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then she eventually gets to South Korea and gets freedom and comes to America. And, like 30 years old, has her first child. She's married. And, like one thing in it where, so she was going to Columbia, I think, or Cornell, like one of those schools. And she's a brilliant girl who was not even educated, just naturally fucking brilliant, and has been through the worst shit in the world. And when you listen to her story, the guys that we know and respect and the units that we know and respect would say they are pussies compared to her.
Right.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And what she went through, and no disrespect to them, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, they at least grew up with the benefits of America.
Yeah.
And what she describes, and like her primary source of protein, the 13 years she lived in, like she became a sex slave at 13. 13 years she lived in North Korea were grasshoppers.
Yeah. That's the most common source of protein in North Korea is grasshoppers.
But it goes into all kinds of details, and I'm probably misquoting stuff. But anyway, it just talks about, so to fast forward to kind of near the end of the podcast, she, is pretty fortunate now, understands she's fortunate, but really, like, she points out so many things where they can't really attack her because she's a female, she's foreign, and like all these things. And she left Columbia because it was so liberal, it didn't make sense to her. And so she has a pretty privileged life by her own admission now, but she's worked hard for it. But her mission is to bring awareness to the slavery in North Korea. And so it was like she brings out, she couldn't even wrap her mind around like reparations.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're complaining as Americans about something that happened 250 years ago,
Right.
and she's like, it's going on in Korea right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And no one cares. She spoke to Nancy Pelosi, called her out.
Yeah.
You know, like all these world leaders, she refuses to speak at the UN now because she's like, it's run by China and Russia, and they want North Korea to stay communist.
They put her next to the North Koreans as she's supposed at the UN as she's supposed to give this speech about the atrocities North Korea is doing. They sat her next to the North Korean delegation team
With no protection. She had to walk to the hotel by herself and stuff. So she was afraid she was going to be assassinated. Anyway, living in Chicago, has her nanny walking down the sidewalk, pushing the stroller, and three like American minority women attack her, beat her up, take her purse. She grabs one of them by the arms, trying to call 911, and all the white folk around her start yelling at her that she's racist because she's calling the police on someone that attacked her because they're not white. And she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? And it's just like a very interesting perspective.
She's in Chicago.
In Chicago.
She should move to America.
Yeah, she should, right?
Well, even the
I mean, I think she kind of says it too. Like,
Right.
America, you guys are losing touch with reality.
even that position, like that in and of itself, like the position that she was in, like you just said, like her nanny, whatever, all this stuff. That is a perfect example of how this all works. It's like she came from literally the worst place you could be in the worst situation, uneducated. By the time she got to a place with education, she was at least 10 years behind, and she has put herself in the positions to go to Columbia or wherever she went, to have to be well off, like all these things. Right. She just made herself.
At 17 or something, she gets to South Korea finally. She didn't even know what Africa was.
Yeah, and she was at the level of a second grader, educationally.
Yeah, 7 years old
Yeah.
level at 17. And she's brilliant now. At 31, you hear her speak, and it's like, oh, and it's just so profound because it's kind of like a lost treasure. Someone who was born, 300 years ago and is transplanted here now and is like, you guys are complaining about the Starbucks drive-thru. I mean, it's unbelievable. You should listen to it. And,
on your flight home, you can probably crush it.
Yep.
So you guys have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
I didn't even know this.
I am not the king of the social medias, and we've just recently gotten some of that stuff squared away by people who know how to do it. Megan Holly.
Yeah.
So Megan's actually taken the bull by the horns and running all the socials, everything from LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram to YouTube. And so we've had a handful of videos that have been gifted to us from some friends.
So you're not actively doing them right now?
No, it's just Richard King, a friend from Atlanta, has been gracious enough.
A great friend to everyone.
Yeah, just like tapes rolling, just start asking these guys questions, and then edit it together and cobble it together, and just friends from the industry have done that a number of times.
I think it's amazing.
This will live on that YouTube channel as long as we have permission. I guess.
Oh yeah, get permission. And Thomas, make sure we link to theirs and everything, please. Oh no, that's incredible. As your organization continues to grow, because I like to think it's sort of like Q. It's like the most incredible thing. Not everybody knows about it yet. I think as more industry knows, you're going to get more and more support. You guys are going to be able to do these things, and I can't wait to see the future. Yep. I was so blown away. I mean, you think about Dave Kramer, 2018. You think you have like a one-night auction event, you raise $1 million?
No, never. I mean, it's insane. I mean, it is. I try to not watch the news too much because it makes me furiously angry.
Yeah.
But you come to an event like that and you're like, this is where America is. Like generous, caring people. Like it restores your faith in humanity.
Yeah,
when you watch
it is
people.
easy to lose it. Like it makes me very sad to think that we're not doing America as good potentially as some other countries. And, I wonder how much social media and shit has to play in this, because it's so easy for this woke crowd to type shit or say shit when you're not face to face.
Right.
And that's where I continue to love that Mike Tyson quote, and I love it for our haters. Like, what is it you motherfuckers got too used to saying shit on social media and not getting punched in the face?
Yeah.
And I think it sort of is a thing, because there is no one, I don't care like I'm not the most conservative guy by my own admission in America or in our industry. But where the things that make sense, I'm very conservative. But there, it doesn't matter any of your views. You go to this event, like you have a definite character flaw or psychological problem if you are not touched and supportive and donate in whatever way you can. Like I'm sure you guys are happy for $5 a month or anything anyone can do. I know with industry stuff, like it's rare that you even ask me for stuff, and like we want to do it. It's like sometimes I don't know when you guys are putting on events or doing something. You always have a friend in queue as long as I'm here. And I think it would go like, I hate Marty Daniel. I think he's a big sack of poo. But I bet even Marty or his people under him, if you guys need anything, are probably there for you 100%. They probably donate and help out as well. I think anybody would in our industry. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and if you wouldn't, you're a kook. You're a fucking big idiot.
Big idiot kook.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been cool to see industry partners and friends, just be like, absolutely, here's this, item. And for many of the donors that show up, a super cool rifle with a badass optic, it starts to go in the auction. And then you get a guy like Tom Smith be like, hey, I'll teach you how to shoot it. And, people are like, dude, not only am I getting this badass gun with this optic and some laser on it, and a bucket of magazines, but now I'm getting this commando of the highest tier to teach me how to use it. It's super cool.
Yeah. It's cool. I think that's the involvement. I think those guys have a responsibility too. They can't just say, hey, I did this thing, I need something the rest of my life. And it's great. Those in the know, like we want to help them, but they got to play a part too. Yeah. And I think you had 50-something guys there that, personified that. Tom, he's not even an auctioneer, and he's like, hey, what the hell do you guys need?
Yeah.
The auctioneer's not here. He can't make it. I got you.
Yep.
Like, I'll find a way to get people to bid.
Yep.
They need to play a part too. It's just like anything, I think, that's successful where there's someone in need. Like, they got to want to do it and participate.
Yeah.
And it can happen. How'd this clock go for $70,000? What the hell?
Pretty awesome story.
Yeah.
So friends that work at Glock went for their 30th anniversary in the U.S. They had 30 Glock 17s made that were all custom etched slides by one of these master engraver guys. It's in a commemorative case. So one of our most amazing supporters is bidding on it amongst one of our board members, and it's going back and forth, 15,
Which
20.
board member?
David Money.
Yeah, he's got some.
He does. He's been successful in his life. So the gun is going back and forth.
Best case scenario.
Yes.
Rich guys both wanting something. There's only one.
So this gun gets to, I think it was like $25,000 or $30,000.
Already unbelievable for $400.
For a Honda lawnmower, basically,
Yeah.
And so he walks up. The crowd is blown away, and he gets it, and he goes to the auctioneer, Jeremy. He goes, auction it again, and he sits back down, and he wins it a second time for $35,000. And then he gave it to us, and he said, use it at another event. And one of, I believe...
it'd be cool if it can become the fruitcake that you sent.
Yes. So that was the idea. And another mutual friend of ours who I believe you might know, his dad works for Turner, bought it. And so, it's up around $75,000
for a Glock.
Yeah, the greatest gun ever made, apparently.
Only to be outdone by a Q fix.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's true. That's true. Because I was going to say, I don't think Saddam's Glock would sell for $70,000. That's incredible. It's so good. You just hope that
Saddam's Glock is at the Bush Presidential Library.
Is it for
Really?
Yeah.
He gave it to him. He gave it to him when Bush told him they could go into Kuwait.
So
There you go.
So Lou's team,
Mhm.
when they did that, everybody involved in that thing, when they recovered it, they had it framed, and every guy on that from that particular squadron signed it, and it was presented to President Bush, and so it's at the presidential library, as I understand it.
That's so awesome.
That's cool.
I've seen so many things from the war that came out of Bin Laden's palace. I tried to buy
Saddam or Bin Laden, or both.
Saddam.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. Well, yeah, I know our buddy Hughes got like Bin Laden's cane. He's in the To Kill Bin Laden.
Yep.
And they were right after hot pursuit when they called up to him. The fire was still, or everything was still hot. They anyway found his walking stick that knew in a video. I don't know. There's all kinds of great stories, but no, Saddam. I tried to buy his Ruger 243 that they were auctioning off, and then they decided to. When I was the highest bidder, they decided to put it in the agency library, basically.
What'd they pay for it?
Nothing.
No, they were trying to establish a fucking value. But I'll tell you what I bid for it. So when was he killed?
Saddam?
Well, he was captured,
He was captured in
in
03,
03,
yeah.
but they finally put him on trial. I believe it was 06.
So probably 05. And it's a Ruger 243 M77 that is engraved for him, but not fancy. All the documentation. There's lots of great photos, like at one of his son's weddings, shooting it and shit.
Right.
And I think I was the highest bidder then at $46,000. And they opted to, and Reed Knight, he's very familiar with these sorts of things. He says, because I had him bid for me as like a ghost bid so that like some rich guy wouldn't outbid me. Like everyone's afraid of Reed because he's got like $1 billion.
Right, yeah.
And will spend it on guns.
Right.
And he won it.
I've seen that collection.
Yeah, even before he bid, he's like, you're not going to get it. All they're doing is establishing a value to put it in their own, like library museum. I was like, shut up, Reed. And he did, and sure enough, I won it. And then they sent a little note saying, "No, sorry, we're unable to sell this gun."
That sucks.
Oh, I wanted it so bad. Like right now, I'd pay $250,000.
Let's go get it.
I don't know. We're gonna.
You
Mission
often wonder,
Impossible
like, what would they do with that? Like,
the money?
well, what they
The
should
gun?
pay down the debt, but what? Like, why do they even bother to establish a value on it?
I don't know. I'm sure there's some accounting attorney bullshit reason they got to do it.
That's
I don't
crazy.
know. I know it is. They should be able to do it without asking questions, or answering questions.
Or they'll sell it to some unsavory type in a deal later down the line.
Yeah, they'll trade it to me when they need something I'm unwilling to do.
Yeah.
I'll be like, yeah, I can do that for you guys. It's going to cost you one Ruger M77 and 243. It says Saddam Hussein on the barrel, just in front of the receiver. Item number 17 in your museum.
Yeah.
The agency's got that thing?
Yeah,
Is it in their museum?
yeah. I'm still mad.
Let's go get it. We'll figure it out.
It's a cool
They made me
museum.
wait in the waiting room last time I was there. But, it's probably in the museum 1 week out of the year.
Sure.
And it's in some closet the rest of
Yeah.
the time where I could make it famous. So what's going on? You guys got an event?
We're gonna do.
End of this year?
We're
What's
gonna do
next?
one in Chicago. We
Nice
have
area.
we have an amazing friend couple up there that came to a very early SOC-F event, and he and his wife were like, "This we've been looking for something to do, and this is what we want to do." And he said, "Can we just run an event for you like what you do in Atlanta, and we'll partner on it?" So yeah, we're gonna do one in September up in Chicago.
September when?
September 23 or 24. I don't have my
Where's
phone
my
on me.
invite?
Didn't get one.
Didn't.
It must be in the mail.
Saddam rifle.
Yeah.
I'll make it happen.
I'll bid everyone up and not buy anything. Like I'm your best friend. At your talk.
So yeah, so we got that coming up.
I would love to come to it.
Oh man, it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
It's
still kind of America.
Yeah, it's outside of is it Clark County? Is that what Chicago is? Cook County. It's outside of there, so it's closer to Wisconsin.
America.
Yeah, it's in the farmland. It's surrounded by cornfields and silos.
Can you say what these people do who help you sponsor this?
Yeah, they're wonderful commercial real estate folks. Darwin Realty is this company. It's Matt and Mandy Lewandowski. They're amazing humans, amazing Americans, and probably share a similar sentiment as our leadership. Like, hey, they can transact real estate and they don't have to worry about the school bus blowing up and the mall getting taken over by jihad. So they can the quality of their life is guaranteed by a bunch of people going overseas, keeping the fight 8,000 miles away.
It's so interesting, like as America, and as I get old and on my third beer and second shot, like Ivanka, a lot of her family now, her immediate family, they live in Brooklyn, and then some of them just moved over into New Jersey over the bridge. And we go see them, and I meet, and as I know, like her mother and her family, and it's like, that's not that long ago, World War II, and how fucked over Poland was by the Germans, by the Russians.
Yes.
And the shit that we have our heads so far in the sand that we take for granted we think can't happen here, and like, so her family's not even Jewish, and a bunch of them ended up in death camps in Poland, and she grew up in Krakow, so very close to one of the largest ones. And when they're in middle school, they take them all there, and a bunch of her family were in that because like they would treat, like she had a couple members of her family that were nurses during the 40s, and they would illegally treat Jews who needed medical assistance that were in hiding, and they were captured, and then her entire family, that part of the family, was put into these concentration camps. And it's like, that's when her mother was born. And you think of these things, and it's like, that is not that long ago, and for us to act like this shit can't happen here.
Right. Yeah.
And like, Poland is not the third world.
No.
Mm-mm.
And, you hear the stories about, like, why her mother came here and how her family came here. And, it's all as a result of a lot of that stuff. And it's just like, not that long ago, and we act like, oh, we can give up all these rights, and the government's going to take care of us and protect us. And, oh, yeah, no one would, Hitler or Saddam, they're just like outliers.
Yeah,
so,
it can't happen again.
No, maybe not. And that we just don't cherish the Constitution, in which, like our forefathers, like sacrificed their lives for. And, oh, no.
It is hard to wrap your brain intellectually around the notion that government is not tyrannical. Because, for my entire lifetime, the cops, if I said, like, you leave my property. Unless you have a warrant, leave. Like, I mean, it's crazy to think that there was a time in America that wasn't the case.
That we actually have freedoms.
Right.
And we can, this is a simple thing of owning stuff. And and the government, and we think that the government's all good. And, it's as I get older, and even when I think about money or business, it's like all the things I want in my life are more freedom. Yeah. Like money's not going to make me happier. It's not going to make my relationship with my kids closer, or ease the pain of my parents as they're extremely old and going through all sorts of health things. It's like, but the money can give me some freedom. I can buy nurses for them. I can get I have a kid that's got executive functioning stuff. I can hire tutors for him, send him to a school that costs $100,000 a year. I can work less. I can afford things that give me more freedom. And just there's people that don't understand it and are willing to give it away. It's crazy.
Like with my own eyes, I have to see and then ask a question. If government is such a big benefactor, then why are there public employees unions?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's been going on since like beginning of time. At least Socrates like wrote something about it, about how kids of the generation after him were, so ill behaved. And we're just stupid. And we continue to do make the same mistakes, and we give away a little at a time until we're going to reach a generation where they're like, fuck this. Might as well fight. Take this back. Anyway, great seeing you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, fellas.
And anything you need from us, know you got a friend and a partner with us anytime you're doing something. If I don't hear from you and we're not allowed to donate, don't call me for 6 months.
Heads will roll.